All right, y'all. Here we go. We're going to start with something that came out a little bit ago, and then we're actually going to listen to something, and we're going to try to get you guys through the timeline. So let's start with, and I'm not saying Mark Stein was wrong about this or whatever, because there was a couple different Mark Stein things. Who, he's an NBA insider, he's connected and all that. So, and it's funny because what really inspired me to do this live show was a new DeAndre Ayton, Dallas Mavericks, Ayton trade rumor. So this was a while ago, but this was a screenshot from an article, and I'll lower this so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. Let me just lower this real quick. If the Phoenix Suns are going to trade DeAndre Ayton this offseason, it may not be the Dallas Mavericks. Now, keep in mind, I'm reading this. This was like from a few days ago or like a week ago. So if the Suns are going to trade DeAndre Ayton this offseason, it may not be to the Dallas Mavericks. Per NBA insider Mark Stein on a Substack, the Mavs' interest in Ayton has been, quote, overstated to this point. Keep in mind, this was like from a week ago. The Ayton to Dallas rumors picked up when John Gambo, of Arizona Sports 98.7 FM, said on May 3rd that he would, quote, not rule out a potential sign and trade involving Kyrie Irving. So, again, that was a while ago. Also, speaking of Mark Stein, he said, the partnership that has veered all the way off track since, though, there is now, quote, a league-wide consensus that Ayton has likely played his last game for the franchise, per longtime NBA insider Mark Stein. So, again, I kind of wanted to start with that. Again, if you guys missed what I'm talking about, if you're just joining the show, which, by the way, thank you for everybody that's in here. Hulk, smash that like button. This was from a while ago. This came from Mark Stein saying that the Ayton, Dallas Mavericks trade rumors were a little overstated. And then he also mentions how John Gambo from Arizona Sports said that he would not rule out a potential sign and trade involving Kyrie Irving. And then he also mentioned that, there's a league-wide consensus that DeAndre Ayton has likely played his last game for the franchise. So this tweet came out from somebody who I respect and somebody who I trust, and they do a great job over there with their podcast. Mike Vigil, I hope I said your last name right, from the Timeline podcast, tweeted this out. Now, I didn't listen to the Zach Lowe podcast, but this does come from somebody who's really plugged in and really knows his stuff, Zach Lowe. So Mike Vigil tweeted this out. This was May 19th, 2023. And you know what? I'm just going to lower this Ayton trade graphic. All right. The organizational discontent, impatient, eye-rolling with Ayton go way beyond Monty Williams. There are a lot of people in the organization that are tired of DeAndre Ayton. Zach Lowe on the Lowe post a few days ago. So again, that's Zach Lowe in his podcast. I didn't necessarily listen to it. I guess Mike Vigil did. Once again, shout out to him. He's a great Twitter follow and does a great job with his podcast with Sam Cooper. But again, this tweet's pretty big. I don't know if a lot of people were talking about this when he tweeted this out. This was a couple of days ago. The organizational discontent, impatient, eye-rolling with Ayton go way beyond Monty Williams. There's a lot of people in the organization that are tired of DeAndre Ayton. Zach Lowe on the Lowe post a few days ago. And just for the record, I didn't watch the clip or whatever. I don't really care what Stephen A. Smith says, but Stephen A. Smith saying DeAndre Ayton got Monty Williams fired. I think that's just Stephen A. Smith and all them being clickbaitish and all that. I mean, sure, maybe DeAndre Ayton had a little bit to do with Monty Williams getting fired, but he's not 110% the reason he got fired. Okay. So again, we've been live less than 10 minutes, and maybe in a 5-minute span, I've already read you guys a couple different DeAndre Ayton trade speculations, rumors, things that people who are really connected in the league are saying. That was all within a 5-minute span-ish. By the way, we're over 9 minutes, and I need you guys to Hulk smash that like button. Please subscribe, share the show. So, again, trying to go in an order here. This is like a quote timeline of the recent DeAndre Ayton trade rumors and speculation. Let me just take a sip of my water here, and we'll get into the juicy stuff here, if you will. So this sort of inspired me to do this whole live show and just give you guys my thoughts. NBA Central tweeted this out. I'm sure you guys saw it. And again, this was today. This was like maybe an hour ago. NBA sources believe the Dallas Mavericks are likely, I can't read. You guys know that. I can't read. Let me try that again. NBA sources believes the Dallas Mavericks are a likely landing spot for DeAndre Ayton per Eric Pincus. Eric Pincus, works for the NBA. He's really good with like stats and the salary cap and all that stuff. And the tweet also says the Suns need depth. I can see them getting Tim Hardaway Jr., JaVale McGee back, Josh Green, and the number 10 overall pick. Now, here's the actual Bleacher Report, I believe, or whatever article this was written on. Here is what it actually said in further detail. Now, I'm not going to sit here and read this whole thing to you. I'm just going to kind of go over the highlights here. Phoenix Suns center DeAndre Ayton and Luka share the same agent, Bill Duffy of WME Sports, and are said to have a good relationship. I remember a while ago I made a video talking about DeAndre Ayton's agent, Bill Duffy, and something that he had said a while ago. So again, as I just read you, the Suns need depth. I can see them getting Tim Hardaway Jr., JaVale McGee back, Josh Green, and the number 10 overall pick. And then, quote, another source said, quote, Phoenix would probably flip the pick to another team for depth, or maybe it'd be a big multi-team deal. Okay, that's a lot to unpack right there. For anybody who cares to, we do own the 52nd overall pick, so maybe we could package that along with that. I don't know, just saying. So let me just recap real quick. Ayton and Luka have the same agent, Bill Duffy, and they have a good relationship. The Suns need depth. I could see them getting Tim Hardaway Jr., JaVale McGee, Josh Green, number 10 pick. And then one source said that Phoenix would probably flip the pick to another team for more depth, or maybe a big team deal. And then it mentions like Dallas can offer Maxi Kleber, Davis Bertans, Reggie Bullock, Jaden Hardy. A few of those guys can score. Some of those guys are wing players, play hard and all that. But Kleber is said to be one of Luka's best friends on the team, and one of its better players, and is the least likely to be dealt. Speaking of Maxi Kleber, I believe it was last year when we were playing them in the playoffs, he took a really hard fall. And I'm going to lower this just real quick, and I'll pull it back up so you guys can read it. But I remember he took he went in for a dunk or something. He kind of held on to the rim too long, and he fell down and landed sort of on his back and neck. That was one of the scariest falls I've ever seen. That dude got right back up. That dude, I had so much respect for him after that happened. So shout out to Maxi Kleber. And I guess that kind of makes sense. I mean, I'm sure the Mavericks probably go to Luka for a lot of decisions, and I'm sure he probably would say, don't trade Maxi Kleber. Anyways, again, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, this is coming from Eric Pincus, and I believe Bleacher Report, just talking about how, there's a Suns, DeAndre Ayton Mavericks trade rumor right now. This is just speculation. They mentioned Tim Hardaway Jr., JaVale McGee, Josh Green, potential 10 pick. Then the Suns flipping that pick for more depth. And then it also goes on to say, whatever the moves, the Mavericks need to add depth in defenders and shooters and athletes to support Luka. Kind of sounds like a lot of what the Phoenix Suns need as well. To support Luka, Irving, and if a Phoenix Suns swap goes through Ayton. So, yeah, a lot to unpack there. Now, speaking of draft picks, again, I'm trying to go in, what I believe is the Ayton trade rumor speculation timeline and all that. I'm trying to stick with the timeline here. And I feel like I've unpacked a lot in less than 15 minutes. So I'm going to take a little breather, and we're actually going to listen to something. You guys know that Flex from Jersey is a friend of the channel. He's been on once before, and he's a good dude. he is a trusted source to me. I know there's some critics out there of him. In my personal opinion, why does he have to keep proving himself? He was, he knew about the Chris Paul trade way in advance before anybody, including myself, did. Before I even started making videos on the Chris Paul thing, he knew about it. And he knew about the Kevin Durant stuff months in advance. So, Flex from Jersey was on Arizona Sports Radio, I believe, with Wolf and Luke. And I clipped some of the stuff that he said. Now, Flex went a little viral recently because he had tweeted out that, there's rumors about DeAndre Ayton potentially getting traded to Portland for the number 10 overall pick. Now, his tweet got a little misread, if you will, because he mentioned that the Suns would have to trade additional pieces and all that. Again, just a rumor. He was just tweeting it out. He was just letting us know. He didn't have to do that. He could have kept that on the DL. So, this was just a small segment. It's about like 2 minutes, I believe. So we're going to listen to this. And let me know if it's too loud or if it's too quiet. I can raise the volume, the sound level, and all that. But this is what he was talking to about Wolf, or with Wolf and Luke on Arizona Sports. This is what Flex from Jersey had to say. This is mainly on DeAndre Ayton's future. I forgot what he said about the pick. I think he just said that the Suns are really optimistic and they're going to be looking at some things with the the Suns and the Blazers thing. But let's listen to what he has to say about DeAndre Ayton's future in Phoenix. Again, this is Flex from Jersey on Arizona Sports talking about DeAndre Ayton's future in Phoenix. Let's listen in. And you know what? Before we do that, actually, I'm going to put on my headphones just so there's not like an echo or anything. Again, let me know if it's too loud, too quiet. And just going to put these on real quick. All right, let's listen to Flex from Jersey.
Both sides is best. For DeAndre himself as a person, for him to kind of, recalibrate, and for the Suns to move on and get away from, all this nonsense that's been floating around with DeAndre in the last couple of years. So to answer that question, I do think there's a possibility he could be back, but if I'm basing this on the conversations I'm having, I think it's more likely that they part ways and they move on from DeAndre eventually.
So that was part of it. He said, there is a potential scenario where the Suns could move on from DeAndre Ayton. Let's continue to listen.
Hours of conversations on the phones with people all around the NBA. I was talking to someone connected to an Eastern Conference team yesterday who told me the market for DeAndre Ayton is absolutely, incredible based on what people think. I'm going to, if you guys will allow me, I'm going to give you an example of something I was told yesterday. And this is a person connected with the Eastern Conference team. And he said, you know what? There's a lot of people that keep using the same word, untapped potential, around the league when it comes to DeAndre Ayton.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of people that believe that DeAndre Ayton's best version of himself is not what they've been putting out in Phoenix. They've been asking him to do things that don't maximize his value. And an example that was given to me was Lauri Markkanen. And I'll give you the exact words that were told to me. This guy said, Arizona kid, underperforming, and shoots a lot of threes, couldn't last with the team that drafted him, couldn't last with the second team, went to the third team, perfect fit, perfect system. Now he's deemed as untouchable. And they look at DeAndre Ayton in the same light. They say, you know what, that fit may not be what's best for DeAndre, but he's 24 years old and he's got untapped potential. And so there is a market for DeAndre Ayton, and the Suns are going to have a lot of options. I think they're going to have a plethora of options. And from the Suns' perspective, I've been told they're looking for a first-round pick, a starter, and a potential young player that they can groom, off the bench, maybe on a rookie contract. But that's kind of where the baseline is for the Suns, and that's where the Portland thing gets interesting.
If for some reason you guys want me to play that later in the show, I can, because it's only like 2 minutes worth. There was a lot to unpack there. He said a lot. From what I'm taking away from what Flex said and from this timeline of DeAndre Ayton trade rumors, I'm going to take off the headphones real quick, is, first off, your guess is as good as mine on what's going to happen with Ayton. I mean, I don't know any more than you guys do. You know what I mean? Flex is obviously connected and all that. And again, Mark Stein coming out with all this, and Eric Pincus and other guys that are connected. And again, we're probably going to have a lot of other DeAndre Ayton trade rumors coming out. First off, one takeaway that Flex pretty much said, I'm paraphrasing him, is that the Phoenix Suns are going to have a lot of decisions. And I saw someone comment in the chat earlier, like, you got to kind of start with what the Suns are going to do with Chris Paul. Heck, who knows? Maybe next week. Oops, I hit my mic. Maybe next week we could see some Chris Paul trade rumors, although they pretty much have said that they are convinced or whatever that he's going to be the Suns starting point guard at the start of the season. Who knows? And then, when I made that Ayton trade rumor about the Blazers and the third pick, I said, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. And it's also one of those things around draft week, trade rumors start flying because GMs are picking up their phones. It's going to get crazy is what I'm trying to say here. Like Flex said, the Suns are going to have a lot of decisions to make. And maybe it does start with Chris Paul. Sure, maybe they said, yeah, we expect him to be our point guard starting next season. But again, that's months away. Anything could change from today to the trade deadline, or not the trade deadline, to the draft day, to free agency. Heck, sometimes trades happen before training camp. So, and I've said this. I've said I truly believe that the Suns are going to have a lot of new faces at the start of this season. I'm sticking to that right now. And in my opinion, it makes sense to. I'm not saying like I would like to see a Josh Okogie come back, for example, but a lot of faces, there's going to be a lot of new faces in Phoenix. And Flex is kind of right. He said something along the lines like the Suns would want a couple of players and a pick back. And even though DeAndre Ayton is, very frustrating at times, there's still so much talent and potential there. That's why I think Ayton would receive a decent package in return. And again, it wouldn't be the smartest decision for Portland to say, here's the number 3 pick, give us DeAndre Ayton. That's like a 2K fantasy trade, right? And some of the names, I'll pull the articles and stuff back up so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. Some of the names here are intriguing, definitely. Like, we'll go back to this Eric Pincus thing here. The Suns need depth. I can see them getting Tim Hardaway Jr. He's a good shooter and all that. JaVale McGee. We've seen what JaVale McGee can do in his Suns uniform. Now, obviously, JaVale McGee had a disastrous season with the Mavericks. I think he even got benched at one point. It was bad, apparently. I don't know if it was injuries. I don't know if it was team fit or whatever the case may be with JaVale McGee. But he had some good games with Phoenix. You got to remember that. There were games where he would outplay DeAndre Ayton. Josh Green is a young wing player. I don't really know too much about Josh Green, but, he's young. It'd kind of be like getting 2 picks back. Let's say the Suns did do this hypothetical trade here, where we got Tim Hardaway Jr., JaVale McGee, Josh Green, and pick number 10. Josh Green's still a young guy. Like, that's kind of like getting 2 picks. I definitely could see the Suns flipping number 10. I really could. Davis Bertans got one of the biggest contracts ever and then didn't live up to it. I don't know if that was because of injuries or whatever. But when he did get that contract, that was when he could actually shoot the ball. But ever since he got that contract, he kind of fell off the face of the earth. Reggie Bullock, by the way, former Sun, played for the Suns for a short amount of time, can shoot and all that. Jaden Hardy can score as well. So I guess where I'm going with all of this is it's not really a coincidence necessarily that Flex has been saying this stuff about Ayton, and that, one of his takeaways was, it is a possibility that the Suns could move on from DeAndre Ayton. And I think another thing that Flex said, if I remember correctly, is that maybe it's a scenario, and I'm not pointing the blame at Monty Williams and his coaching staff. I'm not. but I guess I kind of am. Flex, I think Flex mentioned that maybe DeAndre Ayton just needs a new coach and a new system. And I want to repeat that, a new system, offensively and defensively, new philosophies and all that.